On this episode of Your City at Work, we're going to talk to one of the newest members of Paducah's leadership team, Parks and Recreation Director Amie Clark. And we'll talk to Mark Thompson, who retired from that position after serving the community for nearly 20 years. Stay with us. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Your City at Work. I'm Communications Manager Pam Spencer. The Parks and Recreation Department is the focus of today's episode. We're going to talk to Amie Clark, who was recently promoted to Director, and we're going to be joined by Mark Thompson, who spent 20 years nearly serving in that position. And I have Amie and Mark with me both today, and we are socially distanced, so we are safe here in the studio, and this is an exciting day to have newly promoted Amie and then 20 years of service, Mark. So this is going to be a fun episode. Let's start with you, Mark. Let's go down memory lane. And as you're looking back at nearly 20 years of service, you started in 2001?
Yes.
What are some of those things, those projects, those memories that when you talk to your kids, your grandkids, you're like, I had a hand in that one?
There's a lot, and it's really difficult to narrow down just to a couple. But I'm also proud, and I think most of the city is, of the things we've done, including, I think one of the things that showed that we were going to go across the city was the spray ground at Coleman Park, which was then Blackburn Park at the time. The city gave us a considerable amount of CIP money, capital improvements money, and we did that, and we put in a $50,000 playground at Cobb Park. So we were kind of making sure that people knew that we were going to do things all over town. While at the same time we did the large shelter at Noble Park, and we renovated the amphitheater all at the same time. So that was the first big project, and you're always look back fondly with that. The health park, of course. Probably the best feeling of community was when the Rotary Club put together the group to build the Rotary playground at the Brockenboro Rotary Health Park.
I know when I go there, I can see the slats on one of the top pieces that I had a hand in working on. I was working the router that day.
And everybody can go through and say, I have hands on that project. And the community spirit that was brought forth with all of the volunteer effort was just amazing. And that was all done, and people look at you and say, that was built in a week. And they go, what? I said, yes, it was done in 1 week. A lot of planning, but the actual construction was 1 week. And then there's all the improvements we've made to Noble Park. We've been on a constant roll with that, from putting the wall on the lake to the Noble Park swimming pool renovations, the skate park, the boundless playground, and then everybody's favorite, the Greenway Trail.
Yes.
The Boyles Greenway Trail.
And we have more than 5 miles of trail right now.
Correct.
And I think the first ribbon cutting was that 2008. I'm trying to think.
I think we had one in 2006.
Oh, there was one in 6. Okay.
Yeah, when we opened up what's classified as the old section, the gravel section of it. We finished that after my 5th year, basically. It took 5 years because we had some land acquisition, we had some grant issues, all those types of things. But we finally got that first section done that connected Stuart Nelson Park to Noble Park.
Wow. Now I want to kind of talk to both of you since I got you both here together. Amie, you've been with the department. Mark started in 2001. You've been there quite a while too.
Right. I started part-time as an intern in 2003. So we've worked a long time together.
Yeah, a lot of these projects you both have had a hand in trying to get them moving forward.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your background coming through the Parks Department and your promotion.
Okay. Well, I started as a part-time intern. I was actually going to college for something completely different. And I got an internship with Parks to work in their summer camp. And I kind of fell in love. And it kind of reminded me of growing up in parks and growing up in recreation programs, I had done that all my life, and so it was kind of the right fit for me. And so when a full-time position came open, I jumped at the chance, and I kind of been here ever since. So 10 years ago, I got promoted to superintendent, and it took me from that ground level, like boots on the ground type position, to more of a management position where I got to develop some leadership skills and then work on developing staff underneath me. And I did that for 10 years, and then recently just got promoted to director.
Now, tell the public, how is the Parks Department organized? I know people understand there's parks, and then they may know some of the different activities like a day camp, but it's even more than that.
Yeah, we have 29 park facilities, and we have staff to plan recreation programs from like summer camps to adult softball. We have special event staff that plan our July 4th fireworks display and our Christmas parade. And then we also have maintenance staff that help us maintain all of those facilities and all of that acreage.
Well, Mark, when you're kind of looking and you're seeing the next phase of leadership coming through the Parks Department, what words of wisdom do you have for Amie? I know you've worked together for years, and you probably have a lot of stories and a lot of fun things together. But what's those words of wisdom?
Well, I have a mantra that's kind of that I keep when I need to close the door. And it's just four small words, but it's kind of repeating when you just need. There's times, and she's seen it, when I've had to close the door. It's just one of those types of things you've got to take and gather yourself together. And I just say strength, patience, wisdom, and honor. If you can handle any of those situations and be able to answer correctly with those 4 words, then it's something that you can just take and you can move forward at that point. Wow. And so that does it for me. But be open to people, get out there and meet people and make friends, because those people become your supporters, and they do great things that help you with the development, and you never know when that next call is going to come in. And I can say that I've gotten 2 or 3 of those calls in my career here that says, I want to sponsor this, and I have the money to do it. And we've come up with great things. The Peck Education Trail Edition, the Brockenboro, the spray pad and restroom at Brockenboro Rotary Health Park, are those. Other portions of the health park, when you just make the right phone call, when you put the right team together. Those are the types of things that you just keep yourself open to.
And that's a big part of what the Parks Department has to do, is you try to make the best use of every dollar that you get. So budget's going to be a big thing that you're going to have to work on, Amie. Kind of tell me a little bit about the philosophy of the Parks Department of trying to serve everyone with the best use of funds.
We do a lot with very little. There is no lying to that fact. But it's more of an evaluation piece from year to year. We really kind of try to look at what we offer, see if it's still current, if it's something that is still relevant in our community. If it's not, then we look for something that we can replace that with. We also look for opportunities to grow and expand and make things better. And so when we go into the budget process, we consider all of those things, and we look at all of our programs and see how we can best utilize the resources that we're given.
And all the partnerships that Mark was talking about. Like, I know the Boundless Playground was a partnership, and the skate park was a partnership.
Absolutely.
So we definitely have that. Now, Mark, you've been with the city. You served the city for almost 20 years, but this was just half your career.
Yes, almost half. I have 42 years in the Parks and Recreation field. Graduated. I'm one of the few. There's one young woman up in northern Kentucky, works for Boone County, who I graduated with, and she is just retiring as well. And so we're probably the 2 longest serving University of Kentucky graduates that have that because they don't have that program anymore. So, but I started after graduating from UK, the day on my diploma. My employment started the day before the day on my diploma. So I have been employed for 42 years in this, starting out in the city of Louisville. I was in Georgetown with the Georgetown-Scott County Parks and Recreation for 5 years. I was in South Florida in Boynton Beach for 5 years, and then 11 years in the Birmingham area in 2 departments there before I got to Paducah.
So in those more than 40 years, how has Parks and Recreation changed, and how has it stayed the same?
The changes are really interesting, is the emphasis on a lot of the travel sports is a big deal, and the expectations of the condition of and the types of fields that you have to have. It's just amazing how that's grown. But to me, the single largest impact is Title IX. And it used to just be boys.
Right.
And now the equity with women in sports and women in all aspects of our lives has grown to be expected and required. And it's just one of those types of things that having 3 daughters myself, and I spent over 30 years as a college softball umpire, which dealt with young women. I also coached 10 years of soccer in this area at St. Mary and Paducah Tillman. And just to see that growth really warms my heart.
Right. Well, Amie, as you have been working through the Parks Department and you've gone on conferences to other cities, is there something that you're like, I want to start that in Paducah? What's new that you want to try to bring in?
Yeah, actually something that we're looking at doing pretty soon. A lot of departments have gone to mobile recreation, to where they like outfit a vehicle and they take recreation to the neighborhood. And that's something that we want to do. We want to stop making people come to us and instead be able to provide those services right there in their own neighborhood.
Would it be like a special event, or how
it could be anything. We would basically put all of the equipment that we would need for like a summer camp, and we would put it in our vehicle, and we would drive it out to a site, and we would set up for the day. So we would have arts and crafts, we would have water games, we would have sports activities, all available right there for the kids to just come and participate in.
Oh, that's great. I know you mentioned how many facilities. I think a lot of folks don't realize how many parks that we actually have, neighborhood parks. Talk a little bit about some of the neighborhood parks.
Yeah,
everybody knows Noble Park.
Yes,
that's the big one. That's the shining star there.
Yes, and everybody comes to Noble Park, and we have a lot of programs in Noble Park. But we have a lot of little pieces of property that have been donated to us over the years that may not be developed at all. It's just green space that we maintain. There's a large section of green space in behind Brooks Stadium that we maintain. There's neighborhood parks like Cherry Park and Forest Hill Park that are in West End that are just little pieces of green space. So, you know, there's a lot. There's 29 in all. Across the city, and it's just in the city limits. That's just in Paducah city limits.
All right, I keep going back and forth. Sitting in the middle here, I feel like almost like a small little tennis match. Tell me a little bit, Mark, about what are you going to miss when this is going to be hard for you to step away.
Yes, and I don't want to get choked up at this point, but when you told me you were going to ask something like this, it does choke you up a little bit. But Amie can tell you around our office that we do terrific collaborations. And getting back to the time when you can just step outside of your office and start the conversation, and it's just say, what do you think about this? How about this? I've got an idea. You know, somebody pops up, and then you just start bouncing and working out. Some of our best programs have worked out that way. We, you know, even when we were thinking about this year, back in March, we were thinking ahead. Well, if this continues, what are we going to do with the 4th of July? What are we going to do with the Christmas parade? And we came up with solutions.
Yeah.
And that was internal collaboration and working with the golf course to put the 4th of July on. And most of Paducah got to see that. We had over 1,000 cars at our inverted Christmas parade going through Noble Park. I mean, caught us off guard. I would have really been happy with 200. And we ended up with over 1,000 cars coming through that night. So, I mean, that type of collaboration where you can say, I can do this, and, you know, we've got great staff over in special events, Molly Johnson and Kelsey Edwards, spin off of that, Taylor Morshing in recreation with those folks. It just, all of a sudden, we've just always been able to do that. Plus the collaboration of the internal departments. That's one of the best things I think our city does. And, you know, there's a lot of this developments that we've done over the years that wouldn't have been possible if our city engineer, Rick Murphy, had not been on board with some of them. Our planning department, particularly the health park M1, as I know people have heard me say, wouldn't be here without Steve Irvin, our former planning director. And those types of collaborations are continuing. And I expect that Amie will be right on board with them as the build grant comes up over the next several years and those types of things. And I'm going to miss that day-to-day collaboration and sharing of ideas.
And I've definitely seen that with the Parks Department. One of the initiatives that we have are the Love Awards, which is where employees nominate other employees for an award based on if you're embracing the organizational values. And our Love Awards for 2020, I had so many Parks employees nominating other Parks employees. And when I kept getting all these nominations through, I was like, this department truly sees the value of each other and what each other brings to the table. So you've got some great strengths in your department of just the personnel, Amie. I think that's just wonderful to see.
Yeah, and I really think that a lot of our staff feel like what they do matters because it is so out there and in the public. And if we fail, everybody knows because we're out there and in front. So I really kind of think that a lot of people just kind of take pride in what they do every day, and that just makes us better.
Well, going back to what Mark was saying about the coronavirus and everything that you had to change, what have you learned throughout 2020 in your programming for parks? Is there something that you've learned from having to change it with the coronavirus that you're like, we can do this and we're going to keep doing this?
We have never done virtual programming before. And everything that we've done this year has been switched from in-person to virtual, from aerobics classes at the rec center to special events. So it's been crazy, but we've adapted, and it's kind of shocking how well we can all work in this world where we are limited to in-person contact and not being able to provide in-person events because Parks and Recreation, that's what we do. We gather people. And so we've just had to learn to gather them in a different way. And I see us carrying that forward because it's easy for people to recreate at home and not have to get out and worry about traffic or crowds or anything like that.
One of the more interesting ones that they pulled off, the Recreation Division pulled off, was getting materials out to the public by using the Paducah City Schools lunch program that they took out materials out to the sites with them. Besides giving their food, they gave our programming materials out to the public as well. So we were hitting territory that we had never hit before.
Yeah, and we formed a really good partnership with them. Like, we delivered Easter eggs through that program. We also, they just participated in one of our winter events and came on site and handed out lunches to one of our drive-through events. So it's been a really good partnership with them all year long.
Well, I know, like the candy cane hunt, you couldn't do the candy cane hunt, but you were able to provide families the materials.
Yes. Drive through, come pick it up, and go and do your own thing. So it's been a great adaptation that we never would have even thought of doing before.
And throughout 2020, we were encouraging people to go outside, stay healthy, get the exercise. Talk a little bit about how Parks and Recreation is. It's more than fun. There's a lot of health benefits from social, mental, physical. Talk a little bit about that. Whoever wants to start.
Well, over the years, I've seen the growth in that.
Yeah.
You know, when I first got in, it was just sports and games. There was some conservation and that type of thing. But trails, if you were into hiking and that sort of thing, it was mostly on your own trails. But now, the development of our trails and local trails and that sort of thing, people are getting out there and you're seeing them with headphones and putting a pace on to get to places and doing that. And we all are eating. I think all of us think about what we're eating and our weight and our height and everything that, you know, getting our circulation going. I think there's a more emphasis in today's society because of that. And I think that just carries over because we're a place that can help do that for you.
Yeah, there's not too many places that focus on your whole well-being.
Right. And I think that before this year, a lot of people really kind of relied on established programs. They relied on the gym. They relied on fitness programs that they would go and attend. And this year they haven't been able to do that. And so they've kind of gone back to the basics of just getting out there and using the trails and using the parks, the green space, to do their own recreation without the facilitation that has always been provided before. So it's been good. It's been a good learning experience, I think, for everyone.
You can only expand programs with that.
And you have been out on a bicycle a lot.
Yes, I have. And that's one of the things that I've been able to do, knowing that I'm going to be transitioning. A few of the staff have ridden along with me, and it's better from a ground level. I mean, I moved into Paducah, into town this summer or this spring, and I'm close enough to ride my bike to work and those types of things. So I picked it up, started doing it. One of the clerical staff, Mary Worth, said, well, I want to ride too. And then they started taking notes about all this history that I was giving them as we were riding through the parks. And it's a lot easier when you're, one-on-one in bikes, then you can stop. You're not in a car and just you blow past things at that point. But you can stop and tell people what they're doing, what this was about, how this was developed, who worked where. And so I've been able to kind of spread the context and the history of the department to the staff as well.
And that's one of your strengths is you give the backstory, you've got the context, you know the history, and been great for mentoring. I know we've worked together for several years, and I've always looked to you, Mark, for what's the story, all the history pieces that I need to know to really make sense out of all of this. So I've appreciated working with you and learning from you all these years too, and I'm definitely going to miss you for that. Definitely.
I appreciate that.
Well, I've got a question for you, Amie.
Okay.
It's when I did this program with Police Chief Laird, when he was newly promoted, I asked him this sentence, and I've changed it now for your position. My job as a Parks and Recreation Department Director is to finish the sentence. I know you probably wanted to say a whole novel, but how do you say your job quickly?
I think that the most important thing is we provide services for our community. And so my job is to just make sure that we're facilitating those well and we're efficient and we're providing for the needs of the community. We want to make sure that everybody has the best quality of life experience when they come and visit our parks. And so that's what my role is to make sure that we're doing that.
So why do you love Paducah so much? Because you're not originally from Paducah. You're like me, you're a transplant.
Yeah, I'm not. I've lived here about 18 years, and I've lived in big cities, I've lived in small towns, I've even lived on an island. And Paducah is like the perfect blend of big city and small town. You've got that small town charm. Everybody's really nice. Most people wave and say hi even if they don't know you. And but yeah, there's still things to do. I can take my kids to the movies. We can go roller skating. So there's so many things to do here without the big city traffic. And then you're 2 hours from something bigger. So if you don't have it here, it's just a 2-hour drive and you can get it. So I love that it's the perfect blend of both.
Yeah, I think when people have asked me that, I'm originally from Memphis, and I'm like, that was too big of a city, and I've lived in a city a little bit smaller. Paducah is that right blend. And I
Yeah.
think that's why so many families really love it.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
Well, Mark, I have to ask you, what's on your bucket list?
Well, first, I've got a granddaughter on the way. I've got 2 brand new granddaughters down in Mobile, and so I'll have 4 grandchildren with the oldest grandson. I'll have 4 grandchildren under 3, and so chasing them around and getting back and forth and making sure that they get a little bit of Mark in their life for the rest of that they can remember is one of them. I've got 4 states that I haven't been to. I want to make sure that I want to see all 50 states in the United States, and when all of this coronavirus is passed, that we can get out and do that and travel and see other things as well. I want to see a lot of the national parks.
Which 4 states? Because we were talking about this before, and they're not
And
right next to each other.
The only 2, the closest 2 that are closest together would be Iowa and North Dakota, New Mexico and Alaska.
Well, at least you got Hawaii. That one's the
yeah,
hard one
got
to
that
get.
one when I was much younger. But those are things that I want to do, and my golf game has been sadly neglected for many years. At one time, I could hit the ball pretty consistently and well when I was living in Florida. A lot of golf courses, but so those are some of the things. And one thing I want to do is make sure I stay out of Amie's way. I'm not going to be the one that the press can call on and second guess her, because I'm not going to do that.
But you'll be around if she needs
If she needs it in the long run,
sounding
I'll
board.
be there. Yeah.
Well, any final words of wisdom for Amie, or something you want to tell the public?
Again, as Amie has mentioned, she loves Paducah. I love Paducah. As you all mentioned, it is the right size. It's a great place to raise your children. I think hopefully that the handprint that I may have put on some of these parks and programs and facilities, and actually help raising this staff, I think I feel honored to be a part of that and be a part of them. And I think you've got a great staff to move this department forward.
I would agree with that. We're very capable, for sure.
All right. Final comment, Amie? What's exciting you about your next mission here, your next phase?
I'm just excited to continue carrying forth this torch. I think that Mark has started so many great things, and he's done so many things that I think that we want to keep moving forward and keep developing facilities and keep making sure that we're just providing the best possible facilities and services.
And there's always something to do.
There is always.
That is one of the greatest mottos that I've seen. There's always something to do. That's a great motto for Parks and Recreation. Well, Amie, congratulations for your promotion. Mark, congratulations for your next phase of attacking that bucket list.
There we go. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank Amie and Mark for joining me today. And as always, you can find out more about the City of Paducah by visiting the website, paducahky.gov, and you can find out more about the Parks and Recreation Department. Plus, if you want to see this episode and other episodes, visit the website or visit the YouTube channel. Well, thank you so much for watching this episode of Your City at Work.